All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's LearningFuze Alumni Panel. We got our featured guests, John, Kevin, Judy, Daniel, Jasmine. Well, we want 1, 2, 3. Yeah. We got everyone. Sorry, I have to count. All right. So this is essentially kind of like a Q&A. So I have a couple of questions prepped that I'll ask, but we're gonna do some introductions first. So hi, welcome, I'm Cass. I'm the program coordinator of LearningFuze, and I help with career services. So I help TJ as director of career services. So I help students find jobs, and we're here to hear some success stories. All right. So first off, I'm gonna introduce the panelists, and I'm just gonna for the panelists. You're just gonna introduce your name, what cohort and program you are in, and what you're doing now, and what you did before the program, and what you're doing now. All right, we're gonna start off with John.
Okay, I'll try my best there. Hey, everybody. So my name is John. I was part of the 420 cohort. I see Ashkan and Ben here as well. So shout out to you guys as well. Before the program, I did a full immersion program. We were the first cohort that actually went full remote. And so we were full time, but I just did it all from this room here, which is really cool. Before this, I did data entry for 4 years, which was a dead-end job, but it still kind of prepared me for the role that I have now at my current job. And I am a junior web developer at Zymer Research. We are a biotech research company, and we manufacture tools for other scientists to use in their own research. So we help other people find cures for diseases, and it's an awesome job. Our main platform is Shopify. So I'm pretty much a Shopify theme developer. So that's pretty cool. So that's me.
Awesome, thank you. And now we're gonna introduce Judy.
Hello, I'm Judy. I'm in cohort 120. It's a full immersion software development and the part-time UX design course. I work at AutoID, an information services software company that builds communication and business analytics platforms for predominantly auto, medical, and hospital industry. Before that, I was a government analyst for fiscal admin and operations, which is basically just like a big version of Parks and Recreation, but it's bigger, just a bigger county, and more people knows how things went. So that's related.
Very cool. All right, Kevin.
Hello, I'm Kevin Okahoshi. I was part of the 919 full immersion cohort with Tomas. Shout out to Tomas. He's in the chat here. So before I went to LearningFuze, I was working as an account manager at a couple different places. One was a big digital agency that developed Shopify Plus websites for large e-commerce brands. And essentially, I decided to pursue programming full time. So I am now a software engineer at Beachbody, and I work on their A/B testing team. So essentially, if one of the stakeholders has like a theory as to what's going to increase conversions, then I basically build out a test, or sometimes I'll build out like a force control or something on a page. But yeah, essentially I work closely with Optimizely and a couple different CMSs and some good old vanilla JavaScript, HTML, and CSS.
Very cool. All right, Daniel.
Hi, my name is Daniel. I was part of the 519 cohort, so it's been a while. Before I decided to get into this field, I was working in quality control for car manufacturing. My main responsibility was to just manage the line workers there. And in 2019, I decided to join the 519 cohort, and I was offered a position at CU Direct, Credit Union Direct in Irvine through Rincata in 2020. At CU Direct, we provide loaning services such as car loans or mortgage. Those are two big ones.
Very cool. And then last but not least, Jasmine.
Hello. So I have a little list here just so I don't forget. My name is Jasmine. I was in the 1020 cohort in the full immersion one, and I did it all online. Before the program, I was a high school math teacher for 4 years, which was nice and interesting. And now I am currently a software engineer one at Cox Automotive technically, but it is Kelley Blue Book Auto Trader and a bunch of other things. Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. So those are all your panelists today. And of course, throughout the panel, if you do have questions, feel free to keep them in mind. And there will be time for Q&A after as well. And then actually just a quick raise. And then actually what I've noticed is, you know, like, I mean, in terms of our student, this LearningFuze, the students that come through LearningFuze, majority of them are career changers. So I think this panel definitely like reflects that. So very cool. All right. So super big question. And I would love everyone to answer this and feel free. I'll just choose one and then we can like popcorn. What was the light bulb moment that made you want to pursue a coding bootcamp like LearningFuze? We'll start with Kevin.
All right. So I was working at that digital agency, and it was the most stressful job I've ever had in my life. And they ended up laying me off when I was in escrow on my house. And pretty much I was like, had to reevaluate, you know, like, what did I like about my previous work experience? What didn't I like? And I had spoken with some people. I see Ivan in here. I spoke with him actually about this program as well. And pretty much everyone had really positive things to say about going to a boot camp. It was really encouraging. So, you know, I enjoyed working with websites and whatnot before, because I had a couple of jobs where I was working with code a little bit. And I just decided that that's what I was going to pursue. And I went full-time, full immersion. And I have never looked back. I think that this was like the best career decision I've ever made. And I'm like really happy that I took a chance to do it.
Awesome. And then Ivan said in the chat, all of these alumni are amazing and a great resource. I'm excited to see so many people interested in LearningFuze and wish you all the best. Wow. Very awesome. All right, Judy, why did you choose to pursue a coding bootcamp like LearningFuze?
In my previous job, I worked a lot with software engineers and civil engineering engineers. And I would spend a lot of time with the software engineers, especially since I just like hanging out with them, or just there was a lot of problems with me, or just starting using SAP and it wouldn't work with our other pre-existing software. We had a lot of problems and we just had to make a lot of builds to fix it. I just remember one day I was like standing up and going to walk to the department and realized I would wish I could just fix it instead of just doing it myself, instead of constantly going to them for help. And they were very encouraging, so I decided to change careers. That's how that happened for me.
Nice. Daniel, what about you?
Yeah, so when I was working in car manufacturing, I quickly knew it wasn't for me. I didn't like working like hands-on, just like working on parts and stuff. So I knew I wanted to do something software related, maybe data. So actually going into an position at LearningFuze, that helped me a lot. After talking to Cody and TJ, it kind of solidified my view on software and, you know, the possibilities and potential, you know, jobs that I could get into. So yeah, that was my main reason.
Awesome. What about you, John?
I was depressed pretty much. Like I said before, I was stuck in a dead end job for 4 years. Within the first 6 months, I learned all there was to learn for that job. But at the time, I didn't know where to go or didn't know how to improve my life. But I went to a New Year's Eve party, and my friend Fong, he actually graduated from LearningFuze a year before I joined. And he told me about his experiences at LearningFuze and how it was life-changing, how he knew nothing about coding before, and how he just got a job. He was actually just recently hired, like 2 months before that New Year's Eve party. And so I was totally inspired by him. And if he pretty much said, if I can do it, you can do it. And I'm going to say the same thing. If I can do it, because I'm not smart at all, but I worked my butt off to get to where I'm at today, anybody can do it. Just got to reach out to people, get that help, and just remember, it's a team effort. Like, you're not the only one that's doing this. You're get the help that you need.
That is a perfect quote moment for your social media. Thank you. All right, Jasmine.
I would say a lot of things kind of brought me to that moment, but like I had already been introduced to coding when I was in college, so it kind of was always in the back of my head. I know I was a math major, so it's like, just like, you know, I love that stuff, and I really hated teaching. So COVID happened. I was at home teaching from home. I had decided, I was like, I'm quitting. I'm not going to do this anymore. And then I ended up actually getting laid off. So I was like, okay, so even if I wanted to do this, now is the time. So I didn't even actually know what I wanted to do, but I knew, like, I thought coding was like so crazy, like only smart people do it. I could never do it. I'm not smart enough, you know? So I was like, no way, like, I don't know what the heck to do. And then my husband actually works in tech too. He works with a bunch of software developers, and he met someone who had been through the LearningFuze Bootcamp. And so he was like, talk to him. So I talked to him, and he was like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, go ahead and go for it. So I was like, okay. I looked up a couple of other ones too, which is funny, but he had a success story that I knew about, and my husband knew him on a personal level. And so I was like, okay, let's do this. So I finally committed.
Yeah. Nice. I always find it very interesting just to hear everyone's story on how they kind of decided to go through the program, just because I feel like each story is so unique and personal. So thank you all for sharing. And then the next question, especially with, you know, the whole past year, the pandemic, very big topic, right? So how did the pandemic impact your work life and or job search? I mean, yeah, because I know not everyone went through the program during the pandemic, so I just want to have those two. So with the job search as well. All right, anyone can feel free to start to answer.
I feel like this is probably not what you want to hear, but I feel like it was a benefit for me because I didn't want to go out in person and stuff. So it was like I was like safe behind the screen to go. Like TJ would be like, go to these events, and I'm like, okay, it's online, okay. You know, I don't know if I would have been brave enough to actually go out, but I knew it would have like came to that. I would have like awkwardly done it, but so that it was nice for me. And now my company is we're like going almost fully remote. We only have to go in one time a week. So it's like a completely different change than I would have had before, because my job is in Irvine and I live in San Diego. So now I only have to commute once a week. So in a weird way, it's been a big benefit for me.
Yeah, no, that's like, I know you said it's like might be an answer we might not want to hear, but I think that's a very valid point that you bring up. Especially like, you know, you're in San Diego, so like commuting 5 days a week, that's a big commitment.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, no, that's totally that you're able to find that benefit and positive outlook for sure. Yeah. Anyone else want to share their thoughts on how it impacted their work life or job search?
I would say, go ahead, John.
I'll make this really quick. I agree with Jasmine. I love the fact that we were fully remote. At first, when I was about to join the program, because we were supposed to be, in person, But just doing full remote just made things a lot easier because I can just be at my desk the entire day from like 8 o'clock in the morning to like 10 o'clock at night, just coding away. Whereas if I were to go into the center, that might not be as possible because I'd be moving all the time from home to LearningFuze Center back to home. So just having just one spot to just do everything, to go on Zoom calls, to do my interviews from, it was just made things a lot easier.
Yeah, speaking to like the job search, at the very start of the pandemic, it was really stressful and like tough because I think like a lot of companies did not know what the landscape was going to look like for the next like couple months at the very least. So for me, I think it was hard dealing with that because I was like getting traction like right when the pandemic went full swing. But in the end, I think I just had to shift my strategy a little bit and think outside the box. And ultimately I was like, if every company is working remote right now, like why am I looking for jobs only in Orange County? And that's really what like led me to try and search for things outside of Orange County, and ultimately like what got me my first job. So I think it's been sort of a blessing in disguise because now I'm working remote still, like some companies are going back to the office, but Beachbody is a remote first workplace actually. So if your job can be done remote, you are remote. And so you can pretty much be anywhere if you want to be there.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing. Judy?
So my cohorts that started on site, and the last 2 weeks were on quarantine. So that was unexpected, but initially I guess I was a little freaked that a lot of like job openings all of a sudden froze. But this actually gave me time, I guess, to just sort of slow down, or with TJ's help, I got an internship and I just sort of took time to do that while I'm looking for a job. So that's sort of, I guess I appreciate that time as well. And then when things got back to normal, then I started to really look at it. So probably did appreciate the time after, which wasn't, and I did like doing everything from home. It was fun getting used to.
Yeah, and then Judy, your work is currently hybrid, right? Nice, very cool.
I guess I can go. So I got hired before the pandemic hit. It was January in 2020. So after about a month of going into work in person, pandemic hit and everything got moved remote. So in that sense, that was a big yes for me because everything remote, work from home. But the pandemic didn't really directly affect my job search, so a little different from the rest of them.
For sure, very true. Yeah, because like for us, we it was slightly abrupt, but it was that like when California had their stay-at-home mandate, we were like, okay, everyone, sorry, but we have to be all remote now, So it was remote for like an entire year, and then we only just started recently, having our in-person in May, and now we also have an in-person cohort that started in June as well. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting, pretty cool, awesome. And this will be a question for everyone, but what was the first week at your current company like? I'll have John start.
It was mostly just sit at my dev environment. I started on a Thursday, so my first 2 days was just figuring out if my computer worked well or if it did work. If it did work, I mean, there was just a lot of bugs that happened to my laptop that I just couldn't do any work for the first 2 days. But my first day was onboarding. I was in the office, and then after that, for the first month or so, I was remote, so I went back home. I tried to just learn as much as I can on how to do theme development for a Shopify website. But I didn't do my first pull request until like after my first 2 weeks. And it was just a really basic update. So it's just all about just learning about the development workflow, getting to know my lead developer, really trying to figure out what our culture is going to be like in terms of like how we're going to work together. So it's really chill the first 2 weeks, and it's been chill because the work is awesome. I love my work. I love working there every day. My lead developer is awesome too. Like it really feels like it's a dream job for me. So first 2 weeks was awesome. The job provide your laptop. Yeah, so my job did provide my laptop. And they're actually, because I'm on a MacBook right now, because I'm a front-end web developer, I have to figure out what's going on with Safari in case there's a bug. But we're going back to a PC laptop, and they just bought me a $4,000 laptop. So I'll be getting that in August. So it's like, whoa, it's gonna be crazy. So I'm really excited for that. I don't know what I'm gonna use all that power for, but it's nice to have it.
That's awesome. Yeah, just from what I've noticed, it seems to be pretty common for companies to supply like a work computer or like a work laptop for you, from what I've noticed. Very cool. Daniel, what about you? What was your first week like at your current company?
Yeah, so my current company, their tech stack is completely different from what I learned at LearningFuze. I learned, I think, React, JavaScript, and SQL, PHP when I was doing the bootcamp. And my company uses C#, .NET, SQL, not MySQL, it's pretty much the same. So it was a completely different stack. First 2 weeks, I think, the whole 2 weeks, I just watched YouTube videos and just taught myself how to code in C#. There was basically my first 2 weeks. I didn't actually submit a pull request until 2 weeks after that. So a whole month I went without actual coding, just learning their workflow, learning the business model, especially. I never worked in mortgage before. And mortgage has a lot of terms, a lot of different, concepts that, you probably won't know until you're buying a house. So yeah, that was my first about a month almost.
Very nice. Thanks. Yeah, it's really cool that they give you time to, dive into their tech stack, to actually get used to the environment before, contributing to the code base. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they didn't expect me to actually perform.
Yeah.
For the first 6 months, almost a year. Yeah.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, and the tech stack was completely different from
yeah, completely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's neat that you were able to pick it up as well.
Yeah, somewhat. There's a lot.
yeah, for sure. Always something to learn. So that's good. Yeah. Very cool. Jasmine, what about you? How was your first week?
My first week was actually very hectic. I came at a bad time. I think it was just kind of bad timing. We had just took over AutoTrader. So my team had just taken over AutoTrader, and they were going live literally that day, my first day. So nobody really had time for me. I was just kind of trying to be out of the way as much as possible. But it was a lot of just learning and reading through the repos and everything like that. KBB and AutoTrader, there's stuff I never even thought about. It's a lot of ads and analytics and stuff. So I'm what the heck is going on here? Even though LearningFuze, I know the whole tech stack technically, but yeah. So I would say about the same. I probably didn't do my first PR for a month. I would say I was just getting to know the code, how things work. There's a lot of norms there that there's just such a big company. They have things that they do. And so I said to learn a lot about not coding stuff, just how the workflow goes and everything like that. So yeah, first week though is very chill. Super chill, because yeah, just reading a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. That's really good. Do you since you work in the auto industry, do you find yourself more interested in learning more about cars?
Not at all. I probably have learned nothing about cars this whole time. It's kind of funny. I literally thought, I was oh, I'm gonna learn so much about cars. I'm gonna know when the new cars are coming out, blah, blah, blah. I knew that Kia redid their logo. That was because we had to redo it before we put it on the site. But other than that, no, I don't really pay attention to cars. It's kind of funny.
But if you're gonna buy like a new car, like a used car, you know how to go.
I'm like, oh, I know how this API works now. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Oh, Frank, I'll ask your question after everyone's answered. I got you. All right, Judy, what about you? How was your first week?
So I had to learn a new tech stack too. So it was Ruby on Rails. And so I was given time. And since actually I had to learn about my company because it was I didn't actually understand what my company did initially. And I realized, I found out later, we're like an offshoot of another company. So it's most of the software engineers are like very old school. It's like mostly a software company and software engineering company because everybody is a developer. Everybody started as a developer. So that was interesting. And so I had to get used to know what the company was and learn Ruby on Rails. I still use Friday as like a learning day. So that's further education day is Fridays. But I also got to know like what my first project was, which is basically account migration. I was supposed to like revamp, like not legacy code, just like their inherited code from another company. So that was my main project. And I had to redo their UI or just mock it up and help develop it and then help design it and then help make it. Help them make it. And so I was added onto the GitHub, which is called Mother, the Mother UI. And I then made a sandbox for me to like make up my mockups and prototypes. And then also I could build it while I was learning Ruby on Rails. So I had a place to practice on as well.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, Ruby on Rails. I don't see that too often, but I definitely do see that in job descriptions for sure. Kevin, what about you?
First week did not really consist much of actual work. It was just pretty much getting connected with the different programs that you're going to be using or like getting access to certain accounts. So it's pretty much for me, like getting access to Jira, getting access to Confluence, getting access to Optimizely, and my whole like email situation was kind of wonky because I came to Beachbody through an acquisition. And so like everything was all screwed up with my account. So pretty much like the first week, I didn't really do anything. It was just me, like they might have given me like a really basic thing to do in like one of the CMSs, but it was like nothing too complex.
For sure. I mean, like gotta start small and then you build a snowball, build the momentum, you know? All right, so Frank asked, how did you get the company to interview you when you had no experience with their tech stack? Who wants to start?
I think that he was following up my question.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Sorry, Daniel.
Yeah,
How dare you?
was.
Sorry. Daniel, how was,
Okay.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you want to answer it, Daniel?
Yeah. Okay. So the way I got the interview was through a friend. So it was actually a referred interview. So they, yeah, honestly, I don't know what they saw in me when they first interviewed me for the position. I just applied because I knew someone at the company, and when he joined, he didn't know the stack either. So he just told me, hey, just try it out. When I did, the interview actually lasted only like 10 minutes. No, I wouldn't say there's any technical questions. One question he asked me was, what's .eval in JavaScript? I had never seen it before. I just told him I don't know. But then when I got home, I just sent him a follow-up message, thanking him, and told him, hey, I just looked up, .eval. It says never use it. So like that was it. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call from HR and I got the job. So yeah, I don't know if this helps. Maybe, yeah, like a follow-up email. Yeah.
It gives some hope that something might just fall into place, because that is awesome if you just have a 10-minute interview and a follow-up email and
Yeah.
you get the job. Because like I did an interview, I'll do like a 30-hour coding assessment assignment. It's like I'm doing work without getting paid. And so it really gets frustrating, you know.
It is. No, I totally feel you. Yeah. Yeah, especially there was one interview I had to fly out to San Jose from Irvine. I had an interview with 5 different engineers that lasted 6 hours. And then, you know, we talked salary and everything. And then, you know, a week later, 2 weeks later, nothing, no response. I reached out and they said they had to pull something out of the budget. So that position was just gone. Like they never hired anyone.
That's painful.
You know, like the amount of, you know, effort or time you put into a position it doesn't necessarily correlate, you know, to the chances you get the job. But I think it's, you know, the experience overall that, you know, helps you, you know, build your interviewing skills, and eventually, you know, there will be a position for you. Just waiting. You just have to keep grinding, I guess.
And someone will finally say yes.
Yeah, and try to get a position through someone you know, like that. I'd say that's the best way. I didn't know any of their, you know, tech besides JavaScript and HTML, but yeah. So reach out to your friends, family.
Speaking of reaching out, oh yeah, Jasmine, go ahead.
I was gonna say TJ may have told us that a time or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a couple times. Yeah.
Your guys' checks will be in the mail.
It's good advice. It's good advice. I earned my $10.
Speaking of also like getting a position through referral, John, you wanna tell them how you got your job?
Yes. So I applied to Zymo from LinkedIn. Like they just had this junior web developer. You know, they're located in Irvine. Why not? So I applied. But I didn't hear anything back from them. Of course, because it went pretty much to a black hole. But I searched on LinkedIn and I searched who also works at Zymo that were also, you know, part of LearningFuze. And I found that Donald Tran, he actually graduated from LearningFuze 3 years ago. And I'll tell everybody this, he's also a TJ senior. So it was pretty cool just getting that perspective from him, from someone who's been a developer for such a long time. And also just having, you know, seen LearningFuze change over the years. So I connected with him over the phone, and we spent an hour just talking. And I felt like he really was trying to mentor me. Like we made a really genuine connection over the phone. And so from there, like that was like a month after I applied for that position. So after that phone call, he said, you know what, I'm gonna let you connect with George, our vice president, and have you send him your resume. And so it was pretty much like a personal reference. And so after I sent that resume to George, they set up an interview with me like 2 days after. And the first interview went well. I mean, they had everybody out there. They had like 6 or 7 people on the panel. It was over Zoom, but I loved it. I love panel interviews actually, because I get to work with more than one person in terms of, you know, working with their energy. And the tech question that they asked me, which I totally messed up on, was remove and return the first element of an array, right? I totally forgot the syntax because I haven't touched JavaScript or React in months. And so I totally messed up, but then I told them what my thought process was, and that was still good enough. But what my lead developer told me, like what made me stand up above everybody else, because he told me like he doesn't, if he sees a resume from someone who graduated from bootcamp, he's just gonna just toss it in the trash. Because usually with bootcamp grads, they would want to work with React, you know, whatever they learn from the bootcamp. But I told them straight up, like, I don't care what tech stack I use. I only care about the mentorship opportunities that I get from the company. And that's what made him really stand. What made me stand out. I don't care what the tech stack I use. I just care about how much I'm going to learn from this position. And so that really helped me get the job.
Very nice. Very cool. Awesome. And then I have a couple of quick questions before we open Q&A. But what is one thing you would tell you if you could go back in time to tell yourself before going through the bootcamp? What would you say? And we can start with Judy.
Before the bootcamp?
Yeah.
I know during the boot camp, I wish I listened to Tim D more about taking breaks and sleep. I wish I did that more. That's what I would have appreciated more at that time. Before that, it's just a good joint experience. I mean, it's been helpful. It's a lifetime experience, and you're going to be able to use this, and you're going to learn how to like build some experience, learn other stacks, and to further your career. And it's an awesome experience, and you'll learn a lot, and you'll do a lot.
Wow, very nice. Kevin, what would you say to young Kevin?
I would definitely point out that you should always be very like strong in terms of the fundamentals. Like make sure that you know your programming language of choice like really well, because concepts like programming concepts, a lot of them will carry over between programming languages, but you know, it's just like a syntax thing. So definitely, like I've just like gone full in on JavaScript. I do JavaScript all day. But also I would say to definitely like take, like when you're in your career, take ownership over like your successes and your failures. That's a big one. Like, you know, you have to remember like you're going to be on a team of people, and you know, you have like an individual contribution to a win or a fail, and so it's important to like look at your successes and be recognized for those, and also to realize where you've made mistakes, and to be have a little bit of introspection and be able to recognize the mistakes you've made so you won't make them again, or you know, like you can identify problems that you can fix. So these are probably a couple of things that I would say.
Yeah, that recognizing your failures and successes can be a whole nother topic, but we're not going to dive into that just today. Very nice. All right, Jasmine, what about you?
I think like I knew the coding, like obviously like 10 to 6 was what we did every day, and like I knew that was going to be hard and long, and you know, I knew that was going to be a struggle, but I think like the hardest part for me was actually the job search part. It's like very mentally like draining on you, and you're always like second guessing yourself and stuff. So like I thought the hard part was going to be the boot camp. Like I thought that was going to be the hard part. And for me, like I love coding, so it was like, you know, like it was hard, like obviously it was long days and everything like that, but I mean it was ultimately like so much fun. I was like learning all this cool stuff, and then I got to the job search and I was like, oh man, this isn't fun. so that was definitely a surprise for me. So I wish I would have known that going in, like it's gonna be, you know, both parts are gonna be really tough. So yeah, definitely wish I would have known that.
Very true, and I'm glad that you all made it through both of those chapters in your life. All right, Daniel, what about you?
Oh yeah, I'm 100% with Jasmine on the job search part. Yeah, going into it, I thought the bootcamp, you know, would be hard. You know, it wasn't until I was done with it, and maybe a couple months later, because I was doing an internship right after the bootcamp, which lasted like three months, I think. So yeah, after that, there was no projects that I was, you know, officially part of. It was all making my own websites, portfolio, building my own projects, and while doing that, also interviewing with a bunch of other places. You know, multiple places per day. Like that was just really draining, and you know, the constant no that you hear back from, you know, all these companies, sometimes not even a response, you know, through email. So that part was I would say the hardest. So yeah, past, you know, the younger Daniel, like just the bootcamp is not the hard part. That's a breeze compared to the job hunt.
You know, if not just one person says it, but two people, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a pattern.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna agree with both of them too. That was definitely like one of the most challenging things for sure. Like in a different respect from actually learning how to code. So they're completely correct in that.
Yeah, because like both aspects are both physically and mentally draining in their own ways. So definitely challenging. John, what about you?
First thing I would say is I wish I could have done it sooner. Like ever since I started, it's been life-changing. And I think if I had done it sooner, my life would be totally different from how it is now. I mean, it's already been life-changing in the past 2 years. But other than that, I would say be kind to yourself. I mean, it is very hard going through the bootcamp and going through the job search and going through a lot of no's. But just be kind to yourself. I like to say you're much more than your code. You could bring a lot more to the table than just your coding abilities. Like I said before, I'm not smart. I can't do whiteboarding still. Like I'm gonna mess up that for sure. But I bring a lot to the table. I love learning. I love learning new things. I love bringing a positive attitude. My lead developer, he takes on so much stuff, right? In terms of like his work plate. But every time he talks to me, I always greet him with a really big smile. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? I like to talk to him. I like to see what's going on with him. And it helps build a relationship between us, the two of us. And so it really helps that way. I would say also reach out to Cass and TJ and Tim D and to your instructors as much as you can. It wasn't until Cass sat me down for 3 hours on a Saturday to go over my interview questions that really helped me out. And Judy, she helped me out by saying that, she finds it pleasant to talk to me. And I'm like, oh, that's really nice. And ever since then, that my confidence just boosted so much. Like I didn't know that before, but now that I know that, I'm like, yeah, I am pretty nice to talk to sometimes. But those little things help you out so much. And you got to find what makes you stand out. What is your unfair advantage, right? For me, I have 10 years of going through different industries. I was a student leader at UC Irvine. I did a ton of different student organizations, and I was a leader at a lot of different things. And so I don't just bring my coding abilities, I bring my whole personality. I bring all of me to the job. And so if you can find what your unfair advantage is, that's gonna help you stand out above everybody else.
Very nice. And just like, because like another main thing that we stress is communication, not just during the boot camp, but also during the job search. Honestly, if you don't keep me updated on what's happening in your job search, I know nothing. But if I am able, and I know Tim D will agree with me in terms of gathering as much information as possible. But like, if I know a piece of information and then I'm able to be like, oh, I know there's something I can do to help this person, improve. Like for John, I noticed that he was very nervous, especially like in the first stages of interviews. And I was like, okay, I think it would be a good idea to sit down and be like, hey, let's go through all these questions that might come up. Obviously, not all of them are going to come up because no one's going to want to do a 3-hour interview for a job search. But just to actually set a workflow or set up a flow in terms of what to expect, for sure. And then this is where, thank you all. And actually, sorry, one last thing, Judy, I believe you have a story on how they chose your resume.
Oh, yeah. So I found out this week, since we have this annual get together, since everybody's from different parts of the country and get together, I found out 3 of the senior engineers picked my resume out of a bunch because one was from Raytheon, that was from the government, but 2 of them picked me up because they liked I had a Pokemon themed application. Literally, it was because of Pokemon. So they picked me because 2 Pokemon, 1 government, but it was Pokemon, majority is Pokemon.
That's definitely, there are many ways to connect with other people, because you got to remember that work is not everything. Other people have other hobbies. So it's really cool that your passion for Pokemon was able to, you know, vibe with the other developers.
Company culture is funny. It's like, I think I got brownie points in the interview when they were telling me about the repo. It was called Mother. And I asked them like from Aliens, and it was from Aliens. They literally named it the repo after Mother. It's like, okay, like I really want to work here, yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. All right. So thank you all panelists for being on this panel so far and sharing your wisdom. I would like to open up to the audience. If you have any questions that have popped up throughout that you would like to ask them. And feel free to raise your hand in the Zoom under reactions, and you should see a raise hand button, or you can also type your question into the chat and we'll also get it answered from there too. Ryan, I saw your hand go up first.
This may have already been covered because I have like an apartment and people were talking to me and stuff, but like what was the salary range for like first and second jobs, and like what was like some offers and stuff, like the high end and like the low end, and just, you know, like a good range of stuff.
For sure. If you're whoever's comfortable in sharing, feel free to answer.
Sure. So for my interview, they asked me what my salary range was. I should just stay quiet. But I had a spiel because I was really excited to say that spiel. So I said $55,000 at first. So after that interview, they asked for my professional references, and it wasn't just gonna be a phone call. They were actually gonna be, each person would have to either answer a 28-question survey or write a letter of recommendation for me. And thankfully, through all my networking, I've had some very strong organic relationships that I've built with TJ, with Cass, with people that I've worked with, you know, over through my time there. And so I had really strong references. So because of those references, they bumped my salary up to $65,000. And in my first 5 months, I got a raise to $70,000. And they provide $8,000 for allowance for benefits. So I'm pretty much making $78,000. I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of money for me.
Thanks for sharing. Who else would like to share? All right. Oh, Judy.
55 to 75,000. That's the range. I went with the it was between, it was different, but I went with the culture fit versus like, culture fit was more important to me. Which fit better.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like there's so many factors. Oh yeah, sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go. I insist.
Okay. Yes, that I went to the last stage. So, you know, talking salary was all four. Two of them were offering like 48, and that was in Irvine, 48,000. One, the one in San Jose was like 120,000, I think. And there's one in Santa Ana with the bank that's like 90 around. So I think salary, it just really depends on the location and you know, who you're interviewing with. But for both the 48,000 offers, I was able to bump it up to 60 in the initial negotiating phase. So, you know, everything's negotiable. Should definitely, I think TJ will already tell you, but don't, you know, tell them a number up front. Most companies have their salary budget for a position, like they can't get it approved unless they have one. So, you know, ask them what their range is, ask them what their number is. They'll have to tell you. I think by law, they're obligated to tell you. And by law, they can't force you to, you know, give them a number. So yeah, that's in favor view.
Just to clarify, that would be specifically for California law. I cannot speak to any other state law or like if you're in a different country.
Yeah, that's the only place I looked.
For sure. Awesome. Yeah, so hopefully, Ryan, that answered your question and gave you a variety of different ranges to look into for sure. Brian, what about you? What's your question you'd like to pitch?
First off, thank you guys for that insight. I didn't even think about like being quiet. Like that's pretty smart. Second, I think this is something that everyone deals with, and I'm just trying to get like a little bit of like insight from everyone. But like from graduating and up until now, like how have you dealt with like imposter syndrome?
You know, that's so funny because that's actually one of the questions that because I have a pretty big list of questions just in case, you know. So really cool that you read my mind, Brian. Who would like to touch base on this, on imposter syndrome?
I'll go. So I feel like I keep it in my head that I'm like always learning, you know, like I knew I was going into this after boot camp. My company knew that I was going into this after boot camp, you know, it was no secret. So I try to like remind myself I'm always learning, but like it's kind of inevitable, I think, a little bit at one point, you know, in the beginning, I was like, this is so weird. I don't have it at all. I haven't had it. And I feel like literally like 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Do I know what I'm doing? Okay. You know, so it kind of comes in waves. And I just feel like I have to remind myself, like I'm always learning. Like I have kind of like a little unofficial mentor, and there's some times where I ask her something, she's like, I'm not sure, like, let's look it up, you know? And I'm like, oh yeah, like everyone doesn't know everything. You always are going to be learning something, and learn it and you'll be okay.
Awesome. And then Kevin, I saw you were.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't feel like you don't know what you're doing periodically, then you're not like being challenged enough. You know, I feel like if you're, I see you, Tim. I see you. No, yeah, I think everyone it realistically will face that in their career multiple times, and I think that you know, you just have to remember that they hired you for a reason. It could be like they know they have a realistic expectation if you work in a good workplace of like where you're at currently and where they see future potential. Like they're investing in you as a person, and they want to they can actually see past like, you know, your shortcomings in like right in front of them, right? So I would say like you kind of just have to remember that you're going to constantly be learning. Like self-teaching and learning on the job is like a big part of this whole career path. And so, you know, just kind of have to embrace it and just try your best, really. And just kind of like just as part of the process of like becoming a good software developer.
Very nice words. Why words of wisdom? They're right there. John.
Yeah, really quick. So my lead developer, he's pretty much like a 10D. He's really smart, right? And so I'm in the office every day, and he's on there Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm like, this guy has so much knowledge. How can I ever compare to him? But it's never like that. It's more of how can I help him take work off of his plate, right? And so anything that I can do to help him out, I'm down to do it. If it's something I need to learn more or something that's challenging, but I can still try to figure out on my own, I'm down for it. You know, like it's great where I feel safe in making mistakes because I always have him to bounce ideas off of, and he's always going to be there to guide me, right? So it's not like I'm making pull requests. He's literally just right there. And I'm like, hey, Michael, that's his name, Michael. I'm like, Michael, so what do you think about this? And we just talk, and we talk for 20, 30 minutes over it. And it's just so much fun. So it's already more imposter syndromes. I've been able to funnel that into like motivation to learn more, instead of having anxiety over it.
Yeah, that's really good that you had a really positive environment where you feel comfortable enough to do so. Daniel.
Yeah, going off of what John said, yeah, it's same for me. If you're feeling imposter, you know, that's completely normal. I think it's abnormal not to feel that. The code you write, most of it, for me at least, I just copy and paste from Google, you know, and just like make it, you know, somehow fit into my code. If that works, yes, that's good. If it doesn't, then I make little changes here and there. But I think if you think about your code too highly, it like that's gonna, you know, get you feel that a lot more. Think about, I guess, your work as like problem solving, you know, in general. It doesn't have to be code. Sometimes it's reaching out to the right person. For me, they don't want you to touch on like UI and UX stuff, like CSS files, like all that is, you know, off limits for developers. We have you know, a separate team for that. But when I first started, I didn't know, so I was going into, you know, like CSS and, you know, like making little changes, and then, you know, they're like, yeah, like you don't change that, you just ask the UI person. So you know, like it's just problem solving. Just look at all the different tools, all the different people that, you know, that are around you, and just get help from the right individuals, the right resources, and that's gonna, I think, that will lift some of the, you know, burden off your shoulder, just you know, every day working, and yeah, that way, you know, you don't feel that all on you, because, you know, imposter, like you feel like everything, you know, you have to know everything, you have to, you know, do everything, and if you don't, you know, you fail, and that's not the case when you actually work.
You know what they say, teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork. Yep.
And then actually, you know what's funny? Like if you ask me something and I don't know, my favorite go-to is, that's a great question, let me get back to you, you know, after I find the answer. Because I recognize that I don't know everything, but I know that I can get you the answer. So very nice, very cool. All right, so we are slightly over 8 p.m., but you know, just to wrap up really quickly for the panelists, what is the best way to contact you? We can start with Jasmine.
I would say LinkedIn. LinkedIn would be the best. I go on there every now and then.
Very cool. And after, yeah, sorry, I'll drop the LinkedIn's later. Thank you. Judy?
LinkedIn with a message, please. I mean, it's sort of hard to tell who is what, and unless I look in, and I don't usually do that. So with a message, please.
Awesome. Kevin?
Slack or LinkedIn, you know, feel free to send me a connection request on LinkedIn, shoot me a message if you have questions. I'll be happy to talk to you guys.
Awesome. Daniel?
Yeah, LinkedIn. If you include your, just say, you know, LFZ alumni or LFZ student in the subject, you know, title. Yeah, that'd be good.
John?
So Slack is best. Just remind me how you met me, I guess. Also in person, me and Nina from Cohort 420 were also organizing a alumni social mixer for next Friday, July 30th, at Golden Road Brewery in Anaheim. So I love meeting people in person. It's awesome. So I hope to see some of y'all there. I think Ben is going to be there, and I think Tim D might be there, and I think you're trying to get Kevin to come out too. So and Ken's going to be there too. So yeah, meet us in person, please.
Awesome, very exciting. Also, I dropped in the chat, I made a PDF that has the panel outline of today, but then also, more importantly, is the LinkedIn's and GitHubs of all the panelists. I don't have their emails, but Slack is also good too. Thank you. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you all were able to take away something from each of the panelists, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye.